and welcome back, everyone, to Entrepreneuring. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, and my guest today founded White Sands Technology and Development and are making mini retro arcade cabinets. Ryan Rockstraw and Steve Eiserling, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm excited to talk about this.
Thanks for having us.
So, if anyone out there is even remotely familiar with me as a podcast host, they are probably aware that I am a raging video game nut job. So when I heard that two guys were coming on the show today, whose project were arcade cabinets, I was just a little bit excited. So tell me about White Sands. You know, what is White Sands, and where did this idea come from?
Well, I've always wanted an arcade machine, and me and a couple of friends are also huge raging nerds. Also, I guess kind of half artist, half engineer. So a couple of us decided we'd start making these, and our target was to make them affordable for people. So right now it's like $1,200 to get a cabinet without buttons or anything, but we can sell you one with all the electronics and custom graphics and everything for about $600. So that interests me quite a bit. Yeah, I grew up. I think I was old enough to just like catch the tail end of arcades. I remember them still being in pretty plentiful supply. You know, around the in the malls I would go to. Obviously, bowling alleys, which still have arcades, but they used to be a lot bigger.
Right. This is stuff that I grew up with. You know, I mean, I remember getting $20 from my parents and riding 5 miles to at the time it was Showbiz Pizza Place, and going to blow as many 22 rolls of quarters. And but yeah, no, I've always been a huge arcade guy. And I mean, Ryan and I actually met at the startup weekend here at NMSU. So he told me what he wanted to do, and so then he introduced me to the rest of the team, and so that's when we really started building the next generation of this machine.
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, because I always enjoyed arcades, and they're hard to find now, and I miss the sound. I miss the sound of walking into an arcade probably more than anything.
I think I played at the arcade in the mall here in town until the day it closed. It was Tilt.
Oh yeah, we had a Tilt here in Florida for a long time. Sadly, also no longer here. But
yeah.
Ryan, Steve, I'm assuming you sounds like you grew up in the golden age of arcades.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I like I said, I remember we had a 7-Eleven that was about 3 or 4 miles from my house, and we'd just go down and meet at the 7-Eleven, sit there and drink the Slurpees, and play Defender out in front of their building, And I mean, it was a great time, man. I mean, it was one of those things where all the new games kept rolling out, and then they came out with like the new ones, like when they came out with the what was the one with the video disc with the I don't remember the name of it.
Dragon Lair?
Huh?
Dragon Slayer?
Yeah, Dragon Slayer. Yeah.
Yeah, that blew my mind the first.
And stuff like that. That was awesome.
Just the animation on it. I remember the first time ever seeing it. Like, whoa, this looks like a Disney movie.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, I mean, it was sad to see, all these things go away. But obviously, with the advent of, home gaming systems and things like that, it was cheaper in one way or another to get it in the house. But, there's still always been that, that nostalgia with having these machines in front of you with the big joysticks and the buttons that you can beat on. And so that was one of the things that we wanted to definitely make sure when we put it into production on our end, is that we had, quality builds that would really hold up. And so, I mean, they're just like the old arcade machines, just a little bit smaller.
Yeah. So is the idea it sits on basically like a tabletop or a desktop?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Absolutely.
That's great. So what does the current market look like for arcade cabinets? Obviously, I'm assuming you went out and you research your competition and what's currently available. And Ryan, you brought up the base cost of a stripped out arcade cabinet right now being around the $1,200 mark. What does everything look like? What did your research lead you to?
Just the arcade cabinet. I mean, just wood, no color or anything, was around $1,200, and it's like a kit, so you do it yourself. But then to get one, I think usually they have about 12 games on them, and Walmart actually has them on their website for $3,000. I mean, that's about the cheapest.
And that's the Walmart price.
Yeah, that's the Walmart price.
Yeah,
But
that's
as far as the market goes for this, I mean, the the arcade side, like I said, I mean, it's an expensive boy toy. I mean, and spending $2,000 to $3,000 or even more. I mean, some of these go up to $5,000. Is obviously way outside the price range of the average earner. I mean, especially here in New Mexico. And so what we wanted to do was to find a way. I mean, and I drove these guys too. I'm the business guy. So the goal was we got to build this thing and keep it under a price point of $600. And so that way, at least we have the ability to get into a lot more homes than something with $3,000. But the market looks great. I mean, it's the whole retro thing. I mean, is coming back right now. I mean, we went and we looked up obviously the Google Analytics and all that stuff, and so we're actually on kind of an upward curve right now for people looking for retro arcade machines. And so it's one of those things. I mean, I think Minecraft and some of these other games, that have these old 8-bit graphics to them. It was kind of funny when those came out. I was like, oh my God, I've spent my entire life trying to get away from these graphics, but these things are making a huge resurgence now.
Yeah, it's funny, right? The whole kind of advent of the indie game developer has definitely made me realize, and I think it has made the broader gaming public realize that. The older 8 and 16-bit graphics, that type of sprite-based video games, like there was an art to that. There's something lost when you make the jump to 3D. I think I still find it really interesting to play older 3D games, but I think there's something that's I think just more visually appealing of the games that were strictly 2D, sprite-based, that type of look. Something was lost there. There was like an art form to that. It's kind of like I already brought up a Disney reference in terms of Dragon's Lair, but looking at Pixar's quality movies now, but that doesn't actually diminish the art form that was the traditionally animated Disney movies. And I think it's the same thing with older video games.
Oh, yeah.
Stardew Valley, I'm pretty sure you've heard of.
Oh, you had to bring that up.
Exploded, and it's one guy that did all of the graphics, all of the music, all of the story, and
I have lost days of my life to that game.
And one of my personal favorite retro games that came out a couple of years ago is Fez.
Yeah,
which is really cool because it still has those 3D nuances, but it's still in the traditional 2D format that you're constantly playing in. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are the types of games that I think made everyone kind of realize, oh, you know what? This still looks good. It's a style. It's art direction.
Right, and I think that actually appeals a lot to the indie developers as well too, because one guy can develop an entire game versus needing an entire studio built around him
exactly
to make the artwork for it.
And with graphics like that, it's not as much about how detailed it is about creativity. So
right,
if you're a really creative person, you can make anything, and if it's something like Angry Birds that's really cute and everyone loves it, it's gonna sell.
Yeah, it has just really good gameplay in terms of something like Angry Birds. It's so deceptively simple.
Yep.
The base game really doesn't change for the course of it, but that key gameplay hook it's so clever that it keeps people engaged.
It's things like that, like the old Mega Mans, where it's down to the very pixel. It's hand-eye coordination, and I mean, there's still actually a lot of skill involved in playing them. So
absolutely. Well, we actually have an image of one of your arcade cabinets. So this is this a prototype or is this a finished? I mean, it looks like it's
what we call our Mark III. And that was the third generation of the machines, which is that is retail saleable at that point. We are actually working right now on building a couple more in that same design, and then kicking off a Kickstarter campaign.
Well, it looks great. So you said you could get custom graphics. I'm assuming that's like the side panels and the title over the top.
Yep, and also as well as the
marquee lights. So you could have your name up in there and. Any characters or animation on the sides of it and on the front there.
That's great. Oh, this looks fantastic. Roughly, what are the dimensions for those who may be listening via audio and can't see the visual?
Height about 2 feet 3 inches across the front, about 16 inches, and a foot back.
Gotcha. And then it looks like, is it an old school 4x3 monitor, or do you have 16:9 units?
Ratio 15 inches. So
okay,
still a nice size screen in there.
That's great. So what kind of what kind of games are you going to be able to play on these? Are you going to be able to install indie games? How does it work?
Yeah, well, so obviously what we're trying to do is, so right now we're going to have everything that's kind of open source or open licensed, as many of those as we can get on there. I think we're talking between like 400 and 600 games at this point.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, I'll tell you what's really difficult now is actually finding the companies that hold the licenses for a lot of the classic old games. We've done a lot of hunting, and it's really hard to find some of those. But yeah, we will have the ability to have a USB port on the outside, so if you want to load additional games on, they'll be able to do that as well, too.
Oh, that's great. So it's this fully the user-customized arcade cabinet.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That interests me quite a bit.
Well, we have a pre-order form if you're up for it.
I will be asking you about that after the show, probably. So while we're already on the subject, what else kind of sets the White Sands arcade cabinets apart from what is already out there, other than it's $600 versus $3,000?
One thing would be the controller itself pulls out of the cabinet, so you can kind of sit back away from it a little ways, and you don't have to stand the whole time you're playing it right in front of it.
Oh, it lifts out, and you can just play it like
lifts
a
out.
The whole controller unit pulls out of the unit, so you can sit back about 6 feet.
Oh, so it's just sitting in there, and kind of gravity's doing its job, and you can pull it out and use it in your lap like a fight stick for a console.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember actually the reason I did that was because I had an arcade controller for my SNES that had the turbos and all the buttons, the big buttons and the joysticks. So I really liked that and having it. And I don't remember a lot of people having it when I was little. So I designed that controller around that idea and having a console in your room. So
I remember the exact stick you're talking about because my neighbor had one, and it blew my mind. I was like, I need this. Never got one, of course, but
yeah. But I mean, the other thing is as far as the customizations go as well too, and we haven't exactly nailed everything down. We know we're going to be doing colors and designs and things like that, but even the potential of actually being able to redigitize some of the characters in some of the games to match, say, like a picture of a kid or an individual, and actually be able to customize the game from that perspective.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the machine would actually come, like, say you ordered it for your nephew or something, and you sent a picture of their face. We could put them in a game, and they'd be in their own adventure on the machine. So.
Oh, that's incredible. So have you had to? I'm assuming had to learn some basic coding.
Yeah, that's one of our guys here. That would be Billy.
Yeah,
he's our coder, and as a matter of fact, he's even got a couple of his own little indie games that he wants to include in some of this stuff. So yeah, he's one of those indie gamer guys.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
How'd you get set up with Billy?
Billy was just one. So, like I said, this was kind of a coming together of a bunch of different. So you had two guys, was Billy and Jeff is actually kind of our basic. He's our builder. He's the one that had the original design, and he actually built a machine years ago, and found out that people loved it, and so he actually sold a couple of them. And Billy was into the game design, and he actually went and customized the one for Jeff. And actually, Jeff Moya is his name, and he made the Moya Man game.
Moya Arcade.
Yeah, and so then when Reese and Ryan, they all met through the gamers.
I knew Billy because we kind of together. He started it a couple of years ago, and I joined him. We run a Facebook group called the New Mexico Gamers Union, just trying to get people locally in touch. And there's also another guy that runs the Las Cruces game nights that I'm in touch with, and we actually get together and go play like Super Smash Bros on Fridays and stuff. So
that sounds fun.
Between all of us, Reese does electronics, Jeff does a lot of the building, Billy does programming, and I do a lot of design work. And we, a couple of weeks before startup last year, had already talked about making these and trying to sell them at least locally, and then heard about startup, and I met Steve, and he got on board, and we've been working every night in my garage since then.
Pretty much.
That's wonderful. I love hearing about garage businesses. Like, it's just
Garagetronics, man, it's the way to go.
That is. So is there room to actually pull a car in your garage?
Not now.
No.
Okay. Yep. That's what I figured.
I do a lot of different projects in there, so.
Yeah. So getting back into a little bit of your market research, besides me, who's your target demographic?
So what we're looking at is, there's obviously a pretty wide range. Because one of the things is that not only does this apply to people that are from my age group down, the ones that grew up with it or were introduced to it at some point, but also a lot of the kids, because they've never really gotten exposed to a lot of these games. And also, too, these older games aren't violent, no blood and guts and all that stuff. And so it's something that's a little bit easier for a parent maybe to swallow than buying him, Call of Duty or something like that.
Yes.
And, or a PS4. And so the thought is that we're looking at basically males, age 50 under, down to about probably 24, that have some kind of past exposure to gaming or wants to introduce it to their children. And so it's a relatively wide demographic. Income wise, obviously what we're trying to do there is cut it down so that even lower income individuals can afford it as well too. And like I said, the build quality on it, this thing will last forever once it's up and running. So we're really excited about that.
Another key selling point is no pay-to-play. Drives me crazy.
Oh, God, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That is, as we're talking about some of the indie developed stuff, especially when you look into smartphones and the App Store and whatnot, there's a lot of that. It's a lot of the free-to-play, but, pay to progress.
Right.
Need more lives? $2.99.
Which, when I think about it, not all dissimilar from quarter machines, but
it's about right.
But not something you want to worry about at home, on your home machines. So now you've got me thinking about all the money I sunk into trying to beat House of the Dead.
Oh, yeah.
I think I played that at a place with my sister, and we beat it with under $5 or something. So
that's impressive. I'm pretty sure it took me about 20 between me and my buddy, but
just a lot.
Yeah. So overall, how do you what's your marketing strategy? How do you plan to promote your arcade cabinet?
Right. Well, so obviously this doesn't hurt. But what we're looking at doing is, one, we're going to be doing a Kickstarter campaign. Right now we're just building a couple more machines so that we can get a good quality video out of that. And actually we're going to do some open days here locally. We've already started promoting it in the local area, and so we're trying to get some pre-orders there as well too. But we're going to do the Kickstarter campaign, as well as also build some machines and send them out to YouTubers and other vloggers that can then go ahead and give us reviews on these to see if they're as impressed as we are. So, and then obviously we're going to have the website's up. We're not taking orders on there yet, but we will be soon.
Oh, that's great. How has it been kind of teaching yourself Kickstarter? Because crowdfunding is obviously, it's huge now. Some of the projects that get funded on there.
Oh yeah. And this is, we recognize that what we have here is a relatively niche product, obviously, and so. That's why we really we're really kind of hoping on these other channels, the YouTubers and things like that, to help maybe draw some traffic that direction. But we've been doing a lot of research as far as trying to find out what's, the best plans for going into, whether it's Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or whatever. The right timing, the right amounts, and those types of things. And then we also got obviously some funding promised to us from the Shark Tank here at Aggie, at NMSU, from Beto and Lucis Sparrow, I believe. So they've guaranteed to throw 10 grand our way as well too, to get that, I think, either to get the Kickstarter going or after we have the Kickstarter going, one or the other.
We still haven't met with them since the competition.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that just wrapped up.
Yep.
A week ago. Yeah.
Well, congrats on doing well at it.
Well, thank you.
So you're doing a bit of both. You're doing more traditional funding, where you're going and you're finding some investors, and then you're also going to be utilizing Kickstarter as your crowdfunding platform.
Correct.
So have you planned out? It has to be asked because every Kickstarter has it. Have you planned out your Kickstarter video?
Actually, we met with the videographer the other day, and that's why we want to get a couple more machines, because we could do it with one machine, but we really want to show the range of what we can do with the machines, and I think that won't be able to get done until we have obviously at least one, if not two or three more.
Oh, great! That's wonderful. You're gonna have, I'm assuming, have ones with different graphics on the side and on the marquee and whatnot.
Yep, absolutely.
That's
different
great.
colored buttons, all that fun stuff.
So where can everyone listening, where can they go and find out about these cabinets?
Well, WS Tech.
Yeah, wstechdev.com.
Yeah.
And
that would be it.
Yeah, that'd be it
basically
right
today.
now.
Well, wonderful. When is do you know when your Kickstarter will be launching?
We don't yet.
Okay.
I'm saying I would like to think within the next 30 days. So
Yeah, it's something I feel a lot of people aren't necessarily aware of when they're going to into Kickstarter, and something we've talked about multiple times on this show when it comes to crowdfunding. Generally, more of your time on Kickstarter is eaten up in prep than the actual amount of time spent on your campaign once it's live.
Right. And that's, I mean, because obviously we want to try and set ourselves up for as much success as possible with this. So we're definitely going to take our time. We don't want to put out a crappy video or anything like that. And we also got to really think through what the kickbacks are going to be on the whole thing. So we want to make those worthwhile to the people that are willing to invest and believe in what we're doing. So yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, it's going to take a lot more time to get it there than it is to run it.
Yeah. A lot of planning goes into it. Well, Steve and Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, man.
And I'm looking forward to these arcade cabinets.
Well, like I said, we got pre-order forms. We'll talk when we're done here.
Wonderful. Again, everyone, go check out wstechdev.com. And for more information about the NMSU Shark Tank, go to nmsu.edu. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.